This is the fourth set of notes about cell structure. This one is about things that are involved in structural support, movement, and communication within cells, or in between cells. So one thing that we said earlier that all cells have is cytoskeletons. Cytoskeletons are made of several different structures. We have microfilaments, which are protein threads like actin, which is also found in muscle cells. These give the cell shape and support and allow for movement of the cell and movement inside the cell. The second kind of member of the cytoskeleton is an intermediate filament. Intermediate filaments are fibrous rope-like structures, and they help anchor the nucleus and help give the cell its shape and maintain the shape. And the third element is microtubules. Microtubules are made of hollow tubes called tubulin, and they help anchor cell parts in place, and they also provide tracks to move cell parts around from place to place. So here we have some pictures that show you these different kind of structures. These red structures here in this micrograph are actin filaments. The actin filaments are rope-like structures like this, or kind of twisted structures that make this microfilament like this, and it's involved in movement, like in muscle cells and movement of things within the cell. Second structure is a fibrous subunit called an intermediate filament. Notice it kind of looks like a rope with several different members twisted around each other. You see microfilaments here around this outside of the within and near the cell nucleus. And then the third element is the tubulin subunits. Tubulin, like it says, like it makes you think about, is made of hollow tubes that are composed of subunits put together in a spiral fashion like this, and they form a system of tubules that allow for movement inside the cell and also movement of cells themselves. In this picture, the red fibers are actin microfilaments, the green are microtubules, and the blue that's shown here is the nucleus of the cell. So differential staining allows us to see all these different structures within the cells. Normally, it's not easy to see them. Now, there are structures that are involved in cell movement that are made of microtubules. The two main structures are called cilia and flagella. They move by bending the tubules, and there are little hooks that kind of pull things one way or the other. Very, very intricate structure. The structure of cilia and flagella are basically the same. Cilia are much shorter projections. Flagella are longer and whip-like. The plasma membrane is the boundary of the cell, but there are also extracellular structures that are necessary to a lot of different functions in the cell. The extracellular matrix, or ECM, holds cells together, and it also helps protect and support the membrane. Most of the extracellular matrix is made of glycoproteins. These are proteins that are bonded with carbohydrates. The glyco part refers to the carbohydrate. An example of a structure within the extracellular matrix is collagen. You probably have heard of collagen. Collagen is made of strong fibers that form a supporting network between cells, kind of holds them together in sheets. There are also proteins that extend through the membrane called integrins. These are functioning in signal transmission, passage of message from one cell to the other that they need to produce a certain structure or a certain protein and or move in a certain way. Here's a picture of or a diagram of the extracellular matrix. It's a pretty complex system of fibers and proteins. We have here the collagen fibers that are extending throughout there. There are also connecting glycoproteins that connect the integrins with the collagen fibers. This is all involved in part of the microfilaments of the cytoskeleton. Now, neighboring cells do interact with each other. They are separate cells, but they are ways that they can interact and communicate, and that's through certain types of junctions. In animal cells, there are several different kinds of junctions. There are tight junctions, which help prevent the leakage of fluid. You see it here as kind of a woven system of fibers. that form that tight junction, and it keeps the cells, the group of cells in the tissue from losing moisture or leaking fluid. There are anchoring junctions that fasten cells into sheets. This is what holds those sheets of cells together. And then there are gap junctions, like it shows down here, that allow some communication molecules to pass through from one cell to the next. So there is, even though each cell is separate, there is communication between the cells by means of the junctions. In plant cells, we have slightly different things. Plant cells have cell walls that are rigid and extracellular to help support and protect the cell. But there are openings or channels in between adjacent cells called plasmodesmata. And the plasmodesmata allow water and other small molecules like signal molecules to pass. This ends the fourth set of notes about cell structures. Be sure to complete the Google form when you finish doing the notes.